going, everybody? And how's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Fourth and Long podcast with your host, Alec Pecado. On today's show, I'm going to go over my top 20 college football games to watch, my top 20 running backs, top 5 head coaches hot seat, and top 5 freshmen to watch, and wrapping up the players to watch for the 2024 college football season. Let's get started here with my top 20 games to watch for the 2024 college football season. Starting at number 20, I've got week 1, Texas A&M, Notre Dame at Texas A&M. I think that this game is going to be a really good game. And I think that Notre Dame and Texas A&M are going to put up a lot of points. If you saw my week 1 prediction for this game here on Rumble, I'm doing my week 1 for YouTube, y'all. YouTube, you will still get your game picks and upset picks. That'll be next Monday on the 26th. My number 19 game to watch this year is week 3, Memphis, Florida State. I think this Memphis, Florida State game is going to tell you how good Memphis is going to be this year. If Memphis wins this game, if they beat Florida State, Memphis is probably the real deal, and they will be something to take serious. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a low-scoring, close game. At number 18, I've got a American Athletic Conference game between South Florida and Tulane in week 5. And I think this is another game that's going to be really good. And I think Tulane and South Florida are going to put up quite a sizable number of points. And I think South Florida might win. At number 17, I've got the first of many SEC games, and it is Ole Miss and LSU. Now, you might hear Ole Miss on this list again. I don't know about LSU, but I personally think this is going to be one of the better SEC games this year for 2024. At number, I need to check something real quick. Over to my YouTube. We are. Yep. Okay, so check that to make sure. At number 16, I've got Florida State and Miami, week 9. I think this is an ACC game. And normally Florida State and Miami put on a good show. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put on another good show this year and put up a lot of points. At number 16, that was number 16. At number 15, I've got Michigan versus USC. Now, this could have been higher, but I don't think this game's going to matter too much for Michigan because I think by the time they play this game, they'll probably already lost 2 or 3 games in the Big Ten, and they will not be fighting for the top of the Big Ten. But I still think this is going to be a competitive game where both teams do really well, and I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. My number 14 game for 2024 is in week 5. It is Colorado and Central Florida. Dion and his boys take a trip up to Orlando. And I think this is a classic case of two good teams. I don't know how good they're going to be at this point of the season. They could both be undefeated, or both of them could have 1 loss. If they're both undefeated, game day might go to this game. because it's still early in the season, and we'll see if game day goes to Orlando in week 5. At number 13, I have South Florida at FAU week 10. This was a really good game last year, and I think it might live up to the potential this year and turn into another good game for FAU and South Florida. My number 12 game is another American Conference game. It is UTSA versus Memphis in week 10, the same week as South Florida and FAU. I think this is another game that is going to be a fun one to watch, and you'll see a lot of scoring. My number 11 game to watch is week 12, Oregon and Wisconsin. And I'm going to make a bold proclamation here. If both these teams are as good as we think they're going to be, and they're undefeated in week 12, game day might go to Oregon and Wisconsin. Might. If there's no other good games that week. My number 10 game to watch in 2024 is Colorado versus Utah. This used to be a Pac-12 matchup. Now it's a Big 12 matchup. And I believe that this game could decide whether Utah's going to make the Big 12 championship game or whether Colorado is actually for real. My number 9 game to watch in 2024 is week 12, Tennessee, Georgia. And I think this game is going to decide who makes the SEC championship game. Possibly. There's a few more games on here from the SEC that I think could also decide who gets into the SEC championship game. But I do think Tennessee, Georgia, I think that's going to be a whale of a game. At number 8, you've got week 6, Missouri and Texas A&M. Now, Missouri's going to be really good this year. I think A&M is too. So I think this is going to be an ultra competitive game with a lot on the line. A lot. At number 7, we've got a week 2 matchup between Alabama and South Florida. In this game last year, South Florida hung around. I understand there was weather conditions, but they hung around and they ended up losing only by 10, which I thought they were going to get steamrolled. But it's in Tuscaloosa this year. It's a night game. And if y'all didn't know, the backstory is I was supposed to go to the South Florida-Alabama football game this year. But I wanted to change it up and I'm going to Virginia Tech, as y'all know. My number 6 game to watch this year is in week 4. It is UCLA LSU. And from what I've heard, UCLA, I've taken this and I have listened to many different podcasts. It seems that UCLA, it's either UCLA or USC that's trying to get out of playing LSU. But I think LSU wins this game, but I do think it's going to be competitive. My number 5 game to watch in 2024 is Penn State, Ohio State, week 10. Now, this Penn State, Ohio State is usually always a really close game. And I think Ohio State wins this get. I think Ohio State will beat Penn State. Number 4, Texas, Michigan, week number 2. I think this is going to be the game of the year. Texas and Michigan is going to be the game of the year for me. Number 3, week 1, Clemson, Georgia. This is a big game for Clemson. It's going to tell you how good they're actually going to be this year. But my number 2 game is Texas, Georgia, week 8. This is another one that I believe will be a really good game. And I believe Georgia and Texas are going to put up a lot of points. And my number 1 game for 2024 is in week 7, Oregon and Ohio State. And I believe that's going to be the game of the year. I'm going to try something out real quick before we get to the next part of the video. Okay, let's get to my top 20 running backs. My top 20 running backs at number 20 is Naquan Wright from South Florida. I think Naquan Wright's going to have a big year for South Florida. At number 19 is the combination of Jam Miller and Justice Haynes at Alabama. I think they're going to split carries at Bama this year. But I think both of them get enough carries to be high volume running backs. At number 18, I have the 3-headed trio at Ole Miss of Ulysses Bentley, Henry Parrish Jr., and Rashad Amos, transfer from Miami. I think they're all going to be good, but the problem is they'll get enough carries to be heavy contributors. At number 17, I've got Auburn running back Jaquez Hunter. And Hunter is another guy that I think he's the bell cow running back for Auburn. And I see an avenue where he gets 15 or 16 touchdowns maybe. At number 16, I've got Miami of Ohio running back Kenny Tracy. And this one is very simple. Kenny Tracy will be Kenny Tracy is going to be the number 1 running back for Miami of Ohio this year. At number 15, I've got Ismail Mahdi from Texas State. I think Texas State is going to be dangerous in the Sun Belt. Because not only do you have Mahdi, you also have the reigning Sun Belt Player of the Year in Jordan McLeod. And I think Texas State's going to be one of those sleeper teams in the Sun Belt. At number 14, I've got Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. And I think Taj Brooks is another guy that's going to be a really good running back is going to be really good this year for Texas Tech. Baron Morton's back. And I think Texas Tech is going to be a lot more improved this year in the Big 12. My number 13 running back is Mark Fletcher Jr. from Miami, Florida. Fletcher Jr. is going to be in I don't know how many touches he gets this year, I still think he gets a relatively decent number of touches, even though they did bring in Damian Martinez from the portal. I think it might be a 60-40 split between Parrish getting 40% of the carries and 60% going to Damian Martinez. My number 12 running back is Jonah Coleman. Correction, is Jalen Knighton from SMU. And Knighton's a guy that I'm glad SMU is not in the American anymore. He torched South Florida's defense the last couple of years when they were in the American. And I think he's going to torch a lot of ACC defenses. Look out, ACC. You have no idea how good Jalen Knighton is. My number 11 running back for 2024 is Washington running back Jonah Coleman. And I say transfer because he was at Alabama with Jedd Fisch. And when Jedd Fisch took the job at Washington, Jonah Coleman jumped in the portal and transferred to Washington to be with his head coach. And I think Jonah Coleman is going to rush for over 1,000 yards this year. My number 10 running back this year is Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State. Now, I want to hear y'all's opinion in the comment section on YouTube and Rumble. Do you think I ranked Ollie Gordon too low? Is this too low of a ranking for Ollie Gordon? I'm taking into account everything that happened over the offseason with the whole DUI and him and Mike Gundy trying to dodge it at Big 12 Media Days. So that is why Ollie Gordon is at number 9. I mean, at number 10. Number 9, we have Ashton Jeanty, Boise State. I've watched a lot of tape on Jeanty. He is physical. He's a physical running back from Boise State that I think is going to have over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 4 or 5 receiving touchdowns this year. At number 8, we have Nate Carter, Michigan State. And Nate Carter is another guy that I think he's going to get a lot of carries in this Michigan State offense this year. A lot of rush attempts because they are under a new coaching staff. And with Jonathan Smith as the head coach and Aiden Childs as the quarterback. I do think Michigan State still throws the ball a lot. And I think Nate Carter, is involved in the passing game. My number 7 running back is Texas running back Jaydon Blue. And I would have talked about his teammate CJ Baxter in honorable mentions, but speedy recovery to CJ Baxter, who tore his ACL and will be out the whole season this year. So Jaydon Blue is going to be the bell cow running back for Texas. They are going to have some guys behind him that are going to have to sprinkle in and get a couple carries here and there. But Jaydon Blue, to me, is the number 7 running back going into 2024. At number 6, I've got Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. Now, he wasn't supposed to be the starter. It was going to be Ruben Owens. But like Texas, A&M also had an issue at running back. They had injuries. They had 2 guys that are going to be out for the year with knee injuries. Ruben Owens and their other backup running backs. So it's going to be Le'Veon Moss and E.J. Smith as the 2 running backs for A&M that are going to get a lot of the carries. My number 5 running back is Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Arizona. Now, this guy, I've seen conflicting reports that this is his 6th or 7th year in college. And then I've seen reports this is only his 5th year in college because he missed a couple years with injury. But Merritt, to me, I like the kid. I like the running back, Jacory Krosky-Merritt. I think he's going to help Arizona. Arizona's going to win a lot of games. And I think he's going to be one of the key reasons they win those games. At number 4, I've got Quinshon Judkins from Ohio. Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, the Ole Miss transfer. When this one happened, when Judkins transferred to Ohio State, I'm like, does that mean TreVeyon Henderson's leaving? And no, it actually doesn't. I think they're going to be a lethal 1-2 punch and the best running back combo in the Big Ten and maybe the country. But Judkins is at number 4. At number 3, I've got Tennessee running back Dylan Sampson. He got a little bit of playing time last year with Jalen Wright at Tennessee, but he steps up this year as the number 1 running back for Tennessee. And I think that he's going to have a huge season for Tennessee. My number 2 running back is Michigan's Donovan Edwards. Yes, Michigan fans, you can rejoice. I do see the talent with Donovan Edwards, and I think he's a really good running back. He's the best player on offense for Michigan this year. And my number 1 running back for the 2024 season is Dylan Edwards, Kansas State, the Colorado transfer. Colorado did lose a lot on offense. They lost a couple receivers. They lost a couple running backs. And Edwards was one of the running backs they lost. And I was shocked to see that he left. Next, we get to my top 5 coaches' hot seats. And how this works is if you're at 5, your seat is lukewarm right now, but it could heat up as the season goes on. If you're at 1, your seat is in fuego. So my number 5 head coaching hot seat goes to Temple's head coach Stan Drayton. And for Drayton, I'm going to say this. I'm shocked he's made it this far because I didn't think he was going to make it this far. I thought they would have fired him after last year. And I guess they said, you know what? We're going to give you one more chance. But if you lose 2 or 3 games to start the season, you might be gone. My number 4 head coaching hot seat, and Stan Drayton's hot seat right now is lukewarm. Number 4, we're getting to warm, and that is Tony Elliott, Virginia. His hot seat is warm. I think if they start off 0-4, 0-5, Tony Elliott may be out the door, and they might be looking for a new head coach in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'm not saying that just to be nice. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to fire Tony Elliott this year. My number 3 hot seat, and this guy's seat is, it's getting to burning hot. It's not burning hot, but it is hot. It's not on fire, but it's getting close to that. It is Sam Pittman, Arkansas. I see people out there saying Arkansas is going to win 7 or 8 games. I don't see it. And I'm going to tell you why. They've got a scapegoat for a coach on the staff. And I think the first chance they get to fire Sam Pittman, they're going to do it. They will fire him. And I know Arkansas fans aren't going to like that, but I think the number to replace Sam Pittman is the offense coordinator, Bobby Petrino, which is funny to say, in my opinion. My number 2 hot seat, head coaching hot seat. And this guy's seat is burning hot. It is Brett Bielema, Illinois. They go, Illinois is another school. I don't understand why they brought Bielema back. They're not going to be good this year. Why are you bringing a coach back that's not going to be good and y'all are just going to lose games? I don't get it. And then the obvious answer, number 1, this coach's hot seat is not just burning, not just in fuego. It is flaming hot. Florida head coach Billy Napier. Now, I understand that if they have a okay season, they might give Napier another chance. They might say, because they got a new president at Florida, they might give Napier one more year. But if they have another mediocre season, 5-7, 6-6, Napier is probably gone. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to get fired this year. I have no idea who the interim head coach would be if Napier gets fired. But believe me, if Napier gets fired, there will be a video. If any of these coaches get fired, I will make a video on potential replacements for them. But now we get to the top 5 freshmen that are going to make an impact this year. And we start with number 5, South Carolina freshman defensive lineman Dylan Stewart. I think Stewart's going to make a big impact for South Carolina this year. And I may talk about him again in a little bit on players to watch. Little cliffhanger. You'll have to see when I do the SEC and I do South Carolina if I choose him or somebody else. But Dylan Stewart is number 5 on the list. My number 4 freshman to watch this year in college football that I think is going to make an impact is Dylan Stewart's teammate, quarterback Lenore Sellers. It is the Lenore Sellers era in Columbia, South Carolina. And I think Lenore Sellers, I think this is going to unlock another part of the offense that they couldn't really do with Spitzer Rattler there. My number 3 freshman that I think is going to make an impact, it's 2 of them. It's 2 wide receivers. They're both on Texas. Ryan Wingo and Parker Livingstone. I think they're both going to have a big role in the passing offense for Texas. Because behind Isaiah Bond, who's the number 2 and number 3 receiver right now? We don't really know. So that's where I think Wingo and Livingstone figure into the equation. My number 2 freshman to watch this year for college football is Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava Levy. He played one game last year for Tennessee. And it was the bowl game. He was playing against a bunch of backups. He's going to start this year. And I hope he plays really good. And the number 1 freshman that I think is going to make an impact this year, and this is kind of the obvious one. Everybody talks about him. It is Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. And I think Smith is going to be a key part of the Ohio State passing offense. Now, we get to the last part of the video. And it is the finish of my players to watch for 2024. We continue in the Big 12, and we continue with Cincinnati. And the guy to watch in Cincinnati is quarterback Brandon Sorsby. Braden Sorsby. This kid was at Illinois. He was at, actually, no, it wasn't Illinois. He was at Indiana. And he got booted out of Indiana. Then he went to Illinois. Didn't play. So now, no, he was at Indiana for a year. Didn't get to play there, so he hopped in the portal, and now he's at Cincinnati. And I think he's in for a big season at Cincinnati. Next, we got Colorado. And for Colorado, the player you should be watching is running back, sophomore running back, Daylon Hayden, transfer from Ohio State. I think he's going to be the RB1 for Dion and the Buffaloes this year for Colorado. He got a sparingly amount. He got a little bit of playing time for Ohio State last year. But I think he's going to, like I said, he's going to be the lead back for a high-powered offense in Colorado. Oh, we got the Big Ten and the SEC left. Okay. So, Houston. Houston's next. And the guy you need to watch out of Houston is quarterback Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith. Right here. 6'5", 230. Big boy. I know Houston's probably going to struggle this year, but I think Donovan Smith is going to be the bright spot on that offense, and it's his senior season. Maybe Donovan Smith outperforms and helps Houston make a bowl game, for all we know. So we go to Iowa State. We got Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, Utah, and West Virginia left. Iowa State's next. And I could go with the boring pick and Rocco Beck and see if he could build off of last year. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Isaiah Alston, junior wide receiver. 6'4", 195. I think he's going to be one of the main passing game targets for Iowa State this year. That is Isaiah Alston, number 8. Junior wide receiver, 6'4", 195. Kansas. This one's easy. He barely played last year. Jalen Daniels, junior quarterback. Out of Lawndale, California. But 220 pounds. He's going to be one of the leading contenders for the Heisman this year. And I think he might win the Heisman. He will lead this Kansas offense, high-powered Kansas offense, with a lot of good weapons. Kansas State. Avery. Where's he at? Oklahoma State, I mean. Wait. We skipped K-State. I don't know why. Kansas State. The guy to watch. The guy to watch at K-State is sophomore quarterback Avery Johnson. And the reason I say he's the player to watch is because let's see what he does in a full-time starting QB role for K-State. And I've got a weird one for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State. It's another quarterback. It is Alan Bowman, the senior. This guy has been in college for a heck of a long time. It feels like I was a sophomore in college when this kid was a junior at Michigan. He's been at Michigan. He's been at Texas Tech. And he's been at Oklahoma State the last 2 years. This is his third year at Oklahoma State. Let's see if he can lead Oklahoma State to the playoff this year. Now we got TCU. And TCU, the guy I'm going to say to watch, the player to watch for Texas Christian University is their quarterback, Josh Hoover. Let's see if he can take a step up this year and be better than he was last year and lower the number of interceptions he threw. Sorry about that. Texas Tech. I'm going to say to watch wide receiver Caleb Douglas, 6'4", 205, junior, out of Missouri City, Texas. Kid can fly. He is fast. That's all you need to know about Caleb Douglas. I think he's the player to watch for Texas Tech for the 2024 season. What do we got left? UCF. Without even clicking on it, I'm going to say KJ Jefferson. Let's see if KJ Jefferson, now that he's out of Arkansas, let's see how he actually performs. Utah. It is also going to be a quarterback. It is going to be Cameron Rising, the senior. Super senior. Out of Ventura, California. He missed all of last year with injury. And let's see how he does this year. And West Virginia. I'm going to go with junior running back. Well, see, CJ Donaldson's a converted tight end, but he's playing running back. CJ Donaldson is the player to watch for West Virginia. Running back. He wears number 4. Now we go to the Big Ten. Oh boy, I gotta tell you, there's gonna be some teams that there's really not a guy to watch. Illinois. Hooray. I'm gonna say Luke Altmaier, quarterback, Illinois. And I think Altmaier's a guy that he needs to prove that he can be a starting quarterback. Because I see that Illinois has got a few guys that could take his job if he's not careful. One of them being Donovan Leary, sophomore. Indiana. I think Curtis Rourke is going to start for Indiana. But the guy you need to watch, and I don't know when he's going to start, but it is freshman quarterback Tyler Cherry. Indiana's probably going to be behind in a lot of games, and the few games they do win, I think Tyler Cherry comes in at the end to get some snaps, and he's the guy you need to watch for Indiana. And so is Keenan Black, running back junior, out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. So Cherry and Black. Tyler Cherry and Keon Black. We go to Iowa now. Iowa. The guy I'm interested, the player to watch for me, for Iowa, is going to be running back. Ooh, this is a team. I'm going to say I know I say quarterback a lot. That's the main part of a team. It is Cade McNamara from Reno, Nevada. Second year at Iowa. He is the player for me that you should be watching from Iowa. Now we get to Maryland. We're moving right along here with the Big Ten. Billy Edwards Jr. from Maryland, quarterback. He is the guy I think you need to pay attention to on Maryland because he's going to be the starting quarterback this year. Can Mike Locksley develop another quarterback? Maryland. Michigan State. I just talked about this guy and my top 20 running backs. It is the Nathan Carter, running back, Michigan State. I think he is the guy you need to be watching for Michigan State this year. Junior running back out of Rochester, New York, 5'10", 202. Michigan. This should be interesting. Who are we thinking? I think the guy you need to keep your eye on and watch at Michigan, actually, it's a position group. I think you need to watch the quarterback position for Michigan and see who steps up as the starting quarterback for Michigan in 2024. Right now, it's a 3-horse race between Jack Tuttle, Davis Warren, and Alex Orji. 2 seniors and a junior. And, I mean, I'm not going to discount this. Is Jalen Davis, the freshman, is he in this race? I don't know if he is. But later on in the season, if one of the 3 quarterbacks I talked about isn't doing well, they might go to the freshman. So watch that Michigan quarterback competition / race and see who starts week 1. Minnesota's next. And let's see here. I'm going to go senior wide receiver Daniel Jackson. I'm going to go Daniel Jackson, wide receiver for Minnesota, is the player to watch for 2024 for Minnesota. Now we get to Northwestern. This should be a little interesting to see who they have. Man, doesn't look like the Linsky. I'm going to go senior running back Cam Porter. 5'10", 213 out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He is probably the best player on Northwestern's. And he's the guy I think you need to watch for Northwestern. Now we get to Ohio State. And I could give you the boring pick and go Jeremiah Smith. But I just talked about Jeremiah Smith. So I'm going to go a different route. And I'm not going to go the quarterback route. Because there's already people that have said Will Howard. I am going to go. And I'm going to talk about the offensive line for Ohio State. Actually, no. We're going to talk about the tight end room. And we're going to start with, I think Bennett Christian is back from suspension. If he's not, who is going to step up and be that number 2 tight end behind G. Scott? And Will Kamarack. Will Kamarack and G. Scott. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Jace Middleton, senior? Is it going to be the guy I think you need to be watching in that tight end room for Ohio State is sophomore tight end Jelani Thurman. Jelani Thurman, 6'6", 258. Sophomore. Yes, I know that's a little bit undersized for a tight end, but I think Thurman could be a big-time red zone threat for Ohio State this year. My player to watch for Nebraska is, and this guy, I think he's going to be named the starter. It is Dylan Raiola, freshman out of Buford, Georgia. He had a rocky road choosing where he wanted to go. Originally, it was Ohio State. Then he decommitted from Ohio State, went to Georgia, then decommitted from Georgia, and he ends up at Nebraska, which I think is the best spot for him because looking at the QB depth chart for Nebraska, there is really nobody here at Nebraska that can start. So I think Dylan Raiola will be the starting quarterback week 1 for Nebraska. And I think he's going to be the player to watch for Nebraska. Now we get to Oregon. And this one, I could go the boring pick again, and I could go Dylan Gabriel, but I'm not going to go Dylan Gabriel. I'm going to go junior running back Jordan James. 5'10", 205. I think Jordan James is going to be a focal part of the run game for Oregon this year. He's the player to watch for Oregon. Penn State is next. And I'm going to go with a boring pick. I'm going to go junior quarterback Drew Aller. With Aller, can he step up? They got a new offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki. And can this offense take a elevated step up from what they were last year? If they can, Aller is going to have a big season for Penn State. Penn State. Purdue, easy choice here. Hudson Card, senior quarterback from Austin, Texas. Final year at Purdue. He is the player for me to watch for Purdue. Rutgers. We got Rutgers, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Wisconsin left. Let's get to Rutgers. Rutgers, Ethan Kaliak McManus. Kaliak McManus is the player to watch for Rutgers. He is reunited with his offensive coordinator in Piscataway. And I think Kaliak McManus is going to have a big season at Rutgers. UCLA. Yes, I did. Okay. We're going to do USC first. And the player to watch for USC is junior quarterback Miller Moss. I think Miller Moss is about to have a huge year for USC. And I'm going to say this. He is the player, the one guy I would want to keep my eye on for USC. We got one more conference left after this. UCLA. UCLA, the player to watch is senior quarterback Ethan Garbers. Can Garbers be better than he was last season? And we got Washington, which I'm going to tell you right now, Will Rogers is the guy to watch for Washington. The transfer from Mississippi State. Is he going to be good? I think so. And then Wisconsin is the last Big Ten team. And for me, the guy to watch for Wisconsin is Tyler Van Dyke, senior quarterback. And now we got the SEC, and then that's it. And for Alabama, I'm going to talk about him again. It is the running. I'm going to talk about the running back room overall for Alabama. Jam Miller, Daniel Hill, Michael Loriano, Frederick Moore, Kenny Riley, Richard Young, and Justice Haynes. Who is going to, I know I talked about Jam Miller and Justice Haynes as top 20 running backs, but if one of them gets hurt or if one of them underperforms, who is going to be the next guy to step up in that running back room? For Arkansas, who Taylon Green is set to be the starter, it looks like. That's what we've been hearing. And I like that for Taylon Green. He left Boise State to become a starter somewhere else. And I think that's going to work out for him. Now we get to Auburn. And this is an easy one. It is not their quarterback. It is not running back. It is not running back Jack West Hunter. It is freshman wide receiver Cam Coleman, 6'3", 197. And Coleman, he's going to get a boatload of targets for Auburn this year. He's the player to watch for Auburn. I got a special player to watch when we get to Florida, which happens to be the next team. Yes, I know what y'all probably about to say. Why are you picking this guy to be the player to watch? It is not Graham Mertz. It is freshman out of Willis, Texas, DJ Lagway. I think Lagway will be the starter before the end of the 2024 season for Florida. Because they say Graham Mertz is making strides, but I don't know how much belief I actually put into that. Because as a Big Ten fan, I've seen the Graham Mertz experience when he was at Wisconsin. And he had his good games, he had his bad games. But I think DJ Lagway is the guy you should be watching for Florida. Georgia. Oh boy. This should be an interesting one. Georgia. It is running back Trevor Etienne, transfer from Florida. I know he's in a little bit of trouble right now, but I think he's the guy you need to be watching from Georgia. Kentucky, Rock. Oh, we don't got that many SEC teams left. Kentucky, I'm going to be boring here and say Brock Vandergriff, junior quarterback, transfer from Georgia. He's going to be the starting quarterback at Kentucky. They also did get Gavin Wimsatt in the portal, but Vandergriff did win the job in spring. So he will be the starter, and he's the guy you need to watch from Kentucky. Next, you got LSU. And this is an easy one for me. It's Garrett Nussmeier. Junior quarterback. 6'2", 198. Can he replace what Jaden Daniels left behind going to the NFL? I think he can. He is the player to watch for LSU. Mississippi State. Blake Shapen is the guy to watch for Mississippi State, the player to watch for Mississippi State. Now, with Shapen, how good is he going to be at Mississippi State? We've got Missouri. Brady Cook is the player to watch for me. He's the senior quarterback, leader. Him and Luther Burden are going to make a deadly combination. Try to speed through this. Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold. Miss. Ole Miss, the player to watch is Rashad Amos. Actually, that three-headed monster, that three-headed attack I talked about at running back. Rashad Amos, Ulysses Bentley, Logan Diggs, who I forgot. Logan Diggs is also at Ole Miss. And Henry Parrish. So that is 4 guys. 5, AJ Scott also. There's 5 running backs for you that are just watch the entire Ole Miss running back room. South Carolina. It is not going to be Lenore Sellers, and it's not going to be Dylan Stewart. It is going to be wide receiver. Where is he at? Nick Harbor, sophomore. 6'5", 235 out of Washington, D.C. Harbor's a kid that he knows where the football is. He's going to hit you if you don't watch out. Tennessee. I talked about him in freshman to watch. It is Nico Imiaba Livea, 6'6", 215. Okay. That is a distinct height advantage. He's 6'6", but he's 215 pounds. How does that work? For A&M, the guy to watch is going to be running back. I would have said Ruben Owens, but he's hurt. So senior E.J. Smith. E.J. Smith is going to get a large amount of playing time for Texas A&M this year with the running back injuries that have happened in front of him. And I think he's the player you need to be watching for A&M. For Texas, it is also going to be the running back room, but it's going to be CJ Baxter's out. I'm going to highlight the guy right here. Christian Clark, freshman out of Phoenix, Arizona. He is the guy on the offense. He's going to be the one that steps up in the running back room, I think, for Texas, with CJ Baxter done for the year and Jaden Blue being the number 1 running back. And in Vanderbilt is the last team. I'm going to have to go quarterback Diego Paiva, senior at Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think that he will be the player to watch for Vanderbilt. And that's saying something because there's not really that many good guys on Vanderbilt's team this year. And if you haven't already heard, September 5th through the 9th, I will be in Blacksburg, Virginia for the Virginia Tech Marshall football game on September 6th from 3 to 6 p.m. outside of Lane Stadium on campus at Virginia Tech. I will be having my first fan meetup with all my subscribers for YouTube in Rumble. So if you're in town that weekend, stop by, say hi. I will be giving out autographs. I will be giving out autographs, taking photos with fans, chatting, and a bunch more. And you have a chance to possibly be part of a special podcast episode from 3 to 6 p.m. But that'll wrap up this podcast episode of the Fourth and Long podcast. Please remember to leave a like on YouTube and subscribe if you haven't already. And leave your running back rankings, your top 20 games to watch rankings for college football this year in the comments down below. Or tell me a coach you think is on the hot seat for college football in 2024. But for the Fourth and Long podcast, this is Alec Pecado signing off. I will see y'all later.